under the bright lights in Phoenix tonight. The engines roar, it's a thrilling sight. RevLimit Workshop, the stage is set. Playoff drivers ready, there's no room for regret. RevLimit Racing, feel the power inside. Abbott and Bracey, they're ready to ride. Higgins and Hosack, they're chasing their dreams. In Abnett and Connor, tearing up the seams. Humor pushing through every turn. Ryan and Thompson, they're ready to burn. Vandermeer takes the lead with style. White and Wright fighting hard with a gritty smile. RevLimit Racing, feel the power inside. Abbott and Bracey, they're ready to ride. Higgins and Hosack, they're chasing their dreams. In Abnett and Connor, tearing up the seams. Render the stars, they'll battle it out. Adrenaline pumping, hear the crowd shout. Every lap counts, every second's a fight. When the green flag flies, it's a spectacular sight. In the world of racing, it's a fierce parade. Each driver's passion, a price they have paid. From the start to the finish, they'll give it their all in the RevLimit Workshop. It's time to stand tall. RevLimit Racing, feel the power inside. Abbott and Bracey, they're ready to ride. Higgins and Hosack, they're chasing their dreams. In Abnett and Connor, tearing up the seams. Oh, so here's to the rivals, the thrill and the fight. Tonight in Phoenix, they'll race through the night. With every lap taken, hearts beating fast. In this RevLimit series, they'll give it their best. So here's to the rivals, the thrill and the fight. Tonight in Phoenix, they'll race through the night. With every lap taken, hearts beating fast. In this RevLimit series, they'll give it their best.
Good evening, race fans. Welcome here to Legacy Phoenix for tonight's Phoenix 100 here in the RevLimit Workshop Development Series presented by Pit Pass Network. My name is Robert Hill Jr. Joining me in the booth tonight is Alayton Norgard. Jesse Rasimas will be with us throughout the evening as well as our race controller. Guys, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, Robert. Looking forward to this first round of the chase playoffs, whatever you call it.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good myself. Just doing some race control activities here before we take the pace laps.
Always busy with race control activities, that Jesse Rasimas. As we take a look at the starting grid tonight, you'll notice the drivers indicated in yellow are your playoff field as we kick off the 2025 A playoffs here tonight. Starting on the pole, the driver out of the UK, it's William White alongside JP Phillips, last week's winner in row number 1. Row 2, Jay Connor and Corey Abbott, with Gavin Higgins rounding out the top 5. 6th, a great qualifying run for Andrew Hardcastle with Josh Smith and David Phillips in row number 4. Row 5, Austin and Abnett with by far his best qualifying effort in 9th, and Cale Pocock there in position number 10. Andrew Rucker and Josh Clark round out your front 6 rows. Alayton?
On 13th, Dominic Wright and Jacob Adams in 14th. Michael Hosek and David Westergreen in the next row. Brent Jones in 17th. Zach Evans in 18th. Connor Thompson in 19th. And in 20th, David Carpenter. Hunter Smith in 21st. 22nd is Jaden Rasimas. Ray Bracey in 23rd. And Justin Vandermeer in 24th.
Starting 25th tonight, Frank Foti alongside Mitchell Javier. Mark Robilis and Kyle Hanshaw make up row 14. Row 15, Dave Huckleberry and Dustin Dewar. Shea Mitchell and Caleb Pecumer make up row 16. Pecumer, by the way, tonight racing from a hotel room. He's away on some work business and is using a different setup than what he's used to. Jeff Ryan and Kirk Gibson in row 17. Row 18, Chris Albrecht and Zachary Tyler. That is the 36 car field tonight. A couple drivers going to the rear of the field. Dustin Dewar, Andrew Rucker, Hunter Smith, and Mark Robilis, all for banner violations this evening. So not showing the correct banner for this particular series. As the pace truck is off, we're getting set to go green. Of course, this is a legacy facility here at Phoenix, so the start finish line is where it should be on a racetrack, in the proper position and not off in the middle of a corner. As the field works its way through turns number 1 and 2, William White out to the race lead. JP Phillips going to be side by side with Jake Connor. We saw a bobble from Gavin Higgins there a moment ago. He's going to get passed by Corey Abbott, Andrew Hardcastle, Josh Smith, David Phillips, Cale Pocock, and Josh Clark currently your top 10, as lap number 1 going to go to the British driver, William White.
Yeah, kind of unsurprising with that. What was a little bit more surprising, early on in qualifying, there was a pretty big gap between William and everyone else, and then JP got his lap in, and it was just 3,000ths of a second off. So props to him for making it at least close.
Yeah, definitely a good run there by JP. He's unfortunately fallen in the wrong direction. Had a bit of contact with the outside wall just a couple moments ago, but has been able to gather it back up and solidifying inside that top 10, as we'll keep an eye on him throughout the night. And one of the things about this racetrack compared to the current Phoenix is you do have a lot less racetrack to work with. It's not necessarily as wide. You don't have the dog leg to throw your car down onto, and you're going to see drivers use the apron a little bit in turns number 3 and 4, trying to rotate a little bit better, get that run down the front straightaway and towards that start finish line. You're also going to see drivers push a lot through turn number 2 up towards the outside wall as they navigate their way down this kind of roller coaster-esque back straightaway here at the Phoenix International Raceway. So gonna be a fun one. This is a racetrack I truly enjoy myself, and I know a lot of the guys that have been around for a while enjoy this racetrack as well. So William White doing a nice job, already 5 laps in. Jake Connor, Gavin Higgins, Corey Abbott, and Andrew Hardcastle, your top 5. And I want to point this out here before we get too far into it. Andrew Hardcastle running a new car tonight. Folks, in the comments section, Is that a frog or is that a bird on the back of the Andrew Hardcastle machine? He claims it's a bird. Everyone else seems to think it's a frog. So let us know what you think over in the YouTube comments section. While you're there, drop a like on the video, hit that subscribe button, and be sure to support us each and every race night here on the Elite Racing Network.
I'm gonna have to look at that a little more closely. I was trying to determine if that was a frog or a bird.
Maybe it's a bird frog.
Yeah, there's a uncropped version of it in the Abbott Discord, and it's a lot more visibly clear that it's a bird, but with what he put on his car, it looks like a frog. What can you say?
Watching a battle back here that's getting a little bit tight between Jacob Adams and Austin and Abnett. And Abnett, one of those playoff drivers. Those drivers throughout the field, the majority of them, with the exception of maybe one or two, you're going to see with the red banner over their windshield, such as you see there on the Austin and Abnett machine. So keep an eye on that. They'll also have the red spoiler for the most part, as well as we watch Jacob Adams clear an Abnett. Now David Westergreen going to be side by side with that 60 car. There's Brent Jones right behind. He's got Zach Evans pushing up on him. Justin Vandermarl there side by side with Connor Thompson. Thompson, one of our playoff drivers, as is Vandermarl. Those drivers trying to work their way up from deep in the field, and a driver that's on the move here early, and his positions on the racetrack won't necessarily show it, but Andrew Rucker already up 10 positions on the, he's down 10 spots officially, but up about 15 on the day because he started dead last in the field based off of a banner violation. So that 64 machine, the Pro Edge Racing prospect driver, Andrew Rucker, definitely on the move here in the early goings. His team owner, Dr. Ethan Burrell, definitely going to be real happy with that.
Yeah, it's making me a little nervous seeing them run 3 wide here. Like you were mentioning earlier, this is a much more narrow version of Phoenix than the modern one. It's typically more of a one-lane track, and they made 3 wide work for over a lap there, so pretty impressed by that.
And one thing I want to point out is we're looking a little bit further back in the field at some of these battles, because up front, it's not necessarily a battle as of yet. William White has pulled away a little bit from Jay Connor. It's about 0.2 of a second. Connor is keeping him honest, at least, staying there with him. But otherwise, it's really single file through the top 10 or so. I do see a battle brewing back here. Justin Vandermarl. Oh, Rucker snaps loose. He's going to gather it back up. Another guy on the move right there. Hunter Smith gets by him. Smith had to start at the rear of the field for a banner violation as well. Another thing to note, these drivers do have 4 sets of tires sitting in the pit box here tonight. So general tires waiting for each of these drivers all throughout tonight's event. 100 laps, 5 sets of tires total, which means the set on the car and 4 sets on pit lane. Should we get cautions or a need to come down pit road, the drivers will have some rubber waiting for them when they do get there. Your biggest mover up to this point, Justin Vandermarl, up 8 spots, started 24th, currently sitting in position number 16. He's in a battle with Austin and Abnett started in the 9th spot, now back to the 17th position, and he very well could have cooked his tires a little bit more than he would have liked here on this opening run. Doesn't take long to scrub the good off of those racing tires here, especially at Legacy Phoenix, where we've mentioned it is a lot tighter.
Yeah, Jay up in second. Jay Connor had been pretty much on Will's bumper up until about 5 laps ago, and I'm kind of wondering if he was just pushing his car a little too hard to stay there, because he has just been gradually falling further and further back since that point. This is a pretty loose setup on the car, so it's not the same tight, pushy boat of a car that you might have at other track combinations, but even still, there's only so much the car can take before you're just abusing the tires a little bit too much.
Now, this is a question for both of you guys. I don't know how much experience you have here at the Legacy version of the Phoenix International Raceway, but what would your strategy be for this race, and one that does have potential to bring some long green flag runs?
For me, if for this race specifically, as the first round of the playoffs, I would just be focusing on keeping my car safe, not doing anything too crazy, keeping my tires under me, and just focus on getting those points at the end of the race to put myself in a good position for the rest of the chase. In a more general sense, it's hard to make a pass here, so the best way to make it easy is to save your tires better than the car in front without losing too much time to them in the process. But that's easier said than done, especially up against someone like William White.
Yeah, so they basically the same thing on my end. From what I remember running the legacy version of the track, it does tend to be a little bit looser. I don't know if that's because the track surface is worn out or what the case may be there, but the right rear is definitely going to come into play on the longer run with a lot of these guys, and whoever keeps their tire the coolest and the least amount of sliding possible is probably going to be the one that prevails at the end.
One thing to point out there, we did see Justin Vandermarl up into the outside wall just a couple of moments ago, was able to gather it up. And we have gotten an opinion over in the YouTube chat. We have been told that the animal on the back of Andrew Hardcastle's machine is none other than a largemouth bass. That is coming from Master Fisherman Harrison Talon, who is not in the field for some reason this evening. I'm not too sure about that one. Also, we have a Huckleberry fan over in the YouTube chat tonight. So what we'll do is we'll ride on board with Dave Huckleberry for a lap here. So the next time you'll hear us is after a lap behind the wheel of the number 52 Purdue entry of Dave Huckleberry. And that was a lap behind the wheel of the number 52 machine of Dave Huckleberry, driving for Do Good Racing. Looks like he got passed there by Mitchell Javier, but keeping them honest there, they're currently running in positions 32 and 33 respectively, back towards the rear of the field. This Huck's actually going to battle back. Taking a look to the inside of Mitch Javier. Don't think he'll be able to get there this time, but staying right there with him as we go back up to a battle that has been developing slowly over the last handful of laps. Cale Pocock, Jacob Adams, and just ahead of them is Michael Hossack as well. And we're almost a quarter of the way through this one, and I realized just a moment ago that we forgot to make race picks this evening, so we'll go ahead and get that started with Jesse Rasimas. Jesse, who do you got as your pick to win here tonight?
I'm kind of in a toss-up, and I'm not sure which one to pick, but I'm going to go with one of the Abbott boys and say Andrew Hardcastle.
Andrew Hardcastle, the pick here for Jesse Rasimas. Alayton, are you back yet?
Yeah, I'm here.
Who's your pick?
I'm going to go with Corey Abbott. Might be the other one that Jesse was thinking of. I think he's going to be moving up into third here in a bit, hopefully. He's been on Gavin's bumper for a little while now, so just kind of looking for an opening, I think.
I'm going to go, there's a couple low-hanging fruits up towards the front, and White, Connor, and Higgins. All those guys really strong here so far. But I'm going to dig a little bit deeper in the field and go with a guy that's been on the move. And I think when he gets a chance to come down pit road, maybe have a caution that puts him back with the field, I think he's going to have a real good shot at getting up there and battling for the win here tonight. I'm going to go with none other. Well, there it is. I'm going to go with none other than Hunter Smith for the victory here this evening, as the caution flag is out, guys. We know
Looks
why.
like Mitch Veer was involved. His bumper's all torn up.
Mitchell Javier looks like he got passed by Huck just before the caution. Not sure if these two got together.
Looks like they got moved by Huck.
That's the last tag I go. Oh, well, Huck tried to send him a muffin basket there and might have just sent him into the corner. That's what happened right there between the old 52 and the 58. Mitch Javier got absolutely sent through the muffin basket into turn number 1. Caution flag is out here on lap number 26, and pit road is busy. Of course, I jinxed it by saying that Hunter Smith would love to have a caution, and he absolutely would, because he's up 20 spots. Started at the rear of the field, currently running up there in the 15th position. So Hunter Smith definitely going to be a guy to watch here on this upcoming restart as the field pulls into their boxes for service. We're going to step aside real quick, hear from our friends at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Then we'll hear from Blue Egg Marketing and bring you the action through the middle portions of tonight's Phoenix 100 here on the Elite Racing Network. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
3 years of sellout crowds, 3 years of edge of your seat action, 3 years of jaw-dropping finishes. Worldwide Technology Raceway has rocked the world of NASCAR, and now NASCAR is giving us another reason to celebrate. The 2025 NASCAR Cup Series Championship playoffs are coming Sunday, September 7th, 2025. Just when you thought the racing couldn't get any more intense, now every single lap matters. One wrong move could be the difference between elimination and being crowned the king. The Enjoy Illinois 300, the Confluence Music Festival, the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, and for the first time in 15 years, the NASCAR Xfinity Series on Saturday, September 6th. Don't be on the outside looking in. See history being made in your own backyard. Go to www.raceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.
Rev up your business with Blue Egg, your marketing pit crew. Turbocharge your lead generation with experienced drivers that can navigate the competitive track to connecting with your customers. With Blue Egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big.
And we're back here getting set for the restart. William White, Gavin Higgins, Jay Connor, Corey Abbott, Andrew Hardcastle, your top 5 as we are back in the green here at Phoenix. It's a good jump from the front of the field. Looks like everyone going to make it clean into turn number 1. We'll get an update here momentarily from Jesse Rasimas on the call from caution number 1 as we're quickly approaching already 30% of the way through tonight's program. William White has pretty much led every single lap, every single corner of tonight's event.
Yeah, back here in about 15th, 16th, we got both Hunter Smith and Andrew Rucker making
Oh man, this is wild.
some pretty scary moves, honestly. Almost going 4 wide here.
Oh, Hunter, he's hunting. Almost got into Josh Clark there. Clark has Rucker on his outside. Brent Jones there as well. As around goes Clark. He got bucked right into the barrels. That's going to collect Jaden Rasimas, Justin Vandermarl. Jaden's on his side right there. Oh, man. Come on, Jaden. Fall on those. Yeah, there we go. Oh, he towed right when he fell on his wheels. He would have been okay. Caution flag is out once again. Let's take a look and see what happened. Josh Clark, he got.
Yeah, he's just a little too slow off the corner for what Hunter was expecting, I think.
Everyone just gets collected. Connor Thompson, Cale Pocock, Justin Vandermarl, Jaden Rasimas, Mark Robilas, Dave Carpenter, Shea Mitchell just makes it through. We're going to go on board here in just a second with Jaden Rasimas, see what happened to him. That was a wild ride for the driver of that number 19 machine. Working his way through 3 and 4 here, coming off of turn number 4. Rex starts ahead. He finds the brakes. Unfortunately, Vandermeer finds the rear end of Jaden's machine. He goes for a bit of a slide. Unfortunately for Jaden, he's on the reset button. And then at the moment that he lands on his wheels, it does tow him back to pit lane. So unfortunately there for Jaden Rasimas, he's going to find himself a couple of laps down. Jesse's going to find himself having a bit of work. So we'll continue to hear from our friends over at Blue Egg Marketing. We'll be right back once again here on ERN.
To win the blue egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with blue egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Fueling big to win big. Blue egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Ooh, ooh, big. To win big, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with blue egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Ooh, win big.
And we're back here at Legacy Phoenix. William White leads us through the restart. Higgins and Connor side by side for KOR Motorsports. Corey Abbott holding on to that 4th spot ahead of Andrew Hardcastle. Jacob Adams on his way up through the field. David Phillips just behind him. Michael Hosick, JP Phillips, and old D West right there. David Westergreen up inside that top 10 as he makes a bit of contact with Dominic Wright. He's got Andrew Rucker just behind him. Rucker looking to work his way up into this fight as well. Josh Smith, Zach Evans, Brent Jones, the rest of your top 15 at this point, as we'll keep our eyes on this battle between Wright, Westergreen, and Rucker for 10th, 11th, and 12th. That's your closest battle on the racing surface, as I believe Jesse Rasimas is back. If so, we'll get the tally update on cautions number 1 and 2 here in just a moment. As Dustin Dewar's off the racetrack real quick. Sorry about that. Back to you, Jesse.
Yeah, so tally on the first one is going to go to the 52 Hawk. I believe that's his first one all season, so that's pretty impressive there. And then the second one is actually going to be on 54 of Hunter Smith.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me that it's Huckleberry's first of the season. He's a driver that's really been learning and doing a good job of that here so far this year. Hasn't really put himself in too many bad positions. I know a couple races he's taken it more on the cautious side, but that's worked for him. He's been able to learn and work his way up through the field, maybe get himself a couple better spots than he might have a couple weeks prior, but so far so good. And tally number 1, it's okay. We all get tallies from time to time. Isn't that right, gentlemen?
He definitely, from when he first started, he's picked up quite a bit. So it definitely props on that one. I mean, there was a time where he was going around and he'd be a lap down and maybe a dozen laps or so. So staying on the lead lap for the most part and just racing really clean. So definitely got to give him kudos there.
As we take a look in here at David Phillips, he's worked his way into that 7th spot. A very quiet night, very quiet season for old DPO3 up here in position number 7, but nonetheless having himself a good run here so far. Rucker's a guy that's on the move here. We'll keep an eye on him. He's up to the 11th spot, looking for a top 10 position here just prior to the halfway point. And once again, I do want to point out this is race number 1 of the 2025A playoffs. So every driver indicated in yellow is one of those playoff drivers. And the way the playoffs work in the RevLimit Workshop Development Series presented by Pit Pass Network. Speaking of, head over to Twitter or X, reach out to RevLimit Workshop for all your custom design needs, from logos to paint schemes and everything in between. Thomas and the team over there have you covered. And of course, pitpassnetwork.com, your home for all things motorsports, from news to reviews and interviews. Check out pitpassnetwork.com. But back to the chase. The way it goes is tonight is Legacy Phoenix. Next week, we head for a 60-minute race at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, followed by 125 laps at Bristol. And then we wrap up this first round of 12 at Talladega Superspeedway. Then we'll cut the field down to 4 for our championship finale at Homestead coming up on March the 4th. And the 2025B season start date is currently up in the air. There's possibility that it's going to start a little bit sooner. Just depends on if the 2003 car comes out in the next iRacing build or not, as there will be a Tuesday night series sharing the schedule with the ARCA car for 25B.
I've been keeping an eye on the kind of fight between Dominic Wright and Andrew Rucker, and even from a far chase camera, you can just hear their tires screaming through the corners. So I'm a little concerned for, particularly for Dominic here, that Rucker has been pushing him and making him run harder than he wants to, and those tires are just not going to hold up as long as they want to. And that's going to be a problem because they can make it to the end from here easily. The car has over 80 laps of fuel on a full tank, so they can definitely make it to the end if it goes green. So they got to make those tires last potentially.
And that's tough. I mean, there's a couple guys in this league that definitely cannot save tires. I'm one of them. And at this point, I would have blown a right front or two by now, just with how these guys are driving. We rode on board with Dominic Wright just a moment ago, and you could hear those tires absolutely screaming as he worked his way through the corner. So I really wish we could get tire temperature numbers for you guys, because I'm sure they would be through the roof on that last pit stop as well.
Yeah, I'm just more curious on what tire is the hottest right now. Because looking at a couple of guys, it seems like some are tight and some are really loose. So it's kind of like a overall mixture. I think that's just depending on how hard they're driving into the corner.
Yeah, it definitely looks like Rucker here is driving in a lot harder than Dominic. That's how he got the pass done into turn 3 there. Just almost a slide job. But with the way that he just went off there, it looks like his right rear might be overheating too. So it's not just the right front. He's kind of pushing all
You
of
mentioned
them.
a slide job. He went for a slide while he was trying to do the job right there. So I guess that kind of counts. As Rucker absolutely went for a big slider.
It kind of seems like he's driving in really deep and maybe binding up and causing his car to be tight in the center and then loose out. I know coming out of turn 2, I believe there is a nice hump there on the Legacy Phoenix track, so I'm sure that's not helping things coming out of the corner either.
I want to point out this little grouping of cars here, guys. We got 3 drivers on the move. Jeff Ryan up 15 spots to 18th. Frank Foti up a handful of spots to 19th. And Chris Albrecht up 15 spots to 20th at this point. So these 3 drivers on that move forward, we'll keep an eye on them, see if they can gain a little bit more as the race goes on. As we approach halfway, William White leads by over a second over second place Jay Connor. Of course, White won the first 4 races of the season, then took a vacation for the next 3 after that one. Looking to get back in the win column here tonight to kick off the playoffs, and nobody's locked in to that final round. Even if you win a race here this evening, you're going to have to work for those other 3 races in this round. So you just really want to be consistent and get those points at every possible moment.
Yeah, there's 3 cars right now in the mid-20s that are playoff drivers, and they are not where they want to be. It's Caleb Becumer, who's come up a bit from where he started, and then Connor Thompson and Justin Vandermeer. Justin in particular looks like he's kind of falling off a bit. He's got a big gap to Connor in front of him, and we haven't been green for that long. Oh, he does have some front end damage, so that would explain some of
look
that.
at the right front tire here as well, guys.
Oh,
the way that's
towed
sitting
out badly.
The way that's sitting, he's definitely going to have a much higher tire wear than a lot of these other drivers throughout the evening. I wouldn't be shocked if we see that 80 car down pit road within the next 10-15 laps due to a blown right front tire, which would be catastrophic, a way to kick off his playoffs here tonight. I want to point out a tight battle here. JP Phillips and Andrew Hardcastle, both these guys racing really hard. Hardcastle didn't have to come hard from the rear here tonight. He started up inside the top 10 and currently holding on to that spot up in 7th. But JP Phillips and Michael Hosick both really crowding him through the corners, trying to get up there, trying to get that spot from AH22, as he's doing a nice job holding it on here in that Abbott Motorsports entry. And of course, he's got the Frog riding on the rear end of that machine tonight as well.
Yeah, and those 2 cars fighting behind him is exactly what he wants to see. The more tire they burn up racing each other, the less they have to try and complete a pass on him. But JP is one of those guys that typically saves tires pretty well. So even with what he used up with racing against Tosic, he might have more than enough to get by Andrew here.
Well, and one thing to keep in mind as well, if we had a different point system for this series, a guy like JP Phillips would have entered tonight in the playoffs and actually has a fairly high seed by virtue of his victory last week. But instead, himself, Andrew Hardcastle, a couple others that have been pretty consistent this season, just not consistent enough to make the playoffs, they find themselves on the outside just trying to play spoiler here tonight.
Yeah, remind me, do the playoff drivers all start with the same point total?
That's correct, yeah. So everybody reset to 1,000 points amongst all the playoff drivers. So Dominic Wright through William White, Corey Abbott, Ray Bracey, all those guys all started essentially at a higher level of 0 compared to the rest of the field. But yeah, no bonus points, nothing like that. These guys just racing straight solid for 4 races, and the top 4 from those rounds will advance to the championship finale at Homestead about a month from now. And I'm pretty impressed by the racing so far in this one. Obviously out front, the British boy William White making it a bit of a stinker, leading by about 2 seconds over second place Jay Connor, and another second back to Gavin Higgins and Corey Abbott. But all throughout the field, aside from those guys, we're seeing some great battles. Xander Rucker coming to pit lane. You know, you mentioned it earlier, his right rear seemed to be heating up, went for a slide, and he's got some damage in a lot of places on that race car.
Yeah, the 27 actually got into him, I think through the dog leg, and Rucker nosed it into the wall pretty hard as a result of that. That is after the contact happened. Oh, looks like Andrew moved to block a little late. Yep, in the top four, these guys have kind of spaced themselves out the same way they did in the first run, with William having a gap to Jay, having a gap to Gavin, and then Corey right on his bumper. Just a lap ago, Corey was just barely poking his nose underneath Gavin's bumper on the exit of turn 2. Didn't have quite enough space and had to back off, but I think he has a bit of a pace advantage at this point over Gavin.
We have a Phillips battle going on right now. JP Phillips just got by David Phillips. From what I understand, whoever wins this battle gets to keep the name. The other has to drop down and just become Phil rather than a Phillips for the next round of the season. Currently, that title goes to JP.
And right behind them is Michael Hosek.
Yeah.
He got around Andrew Hardcastle as well. So Andrew looks to be struggling with tires a little bit. He's going to have Dom on his back bumper here shortly as well.
Yeah, Dom Wright up in the 10th spot. Josh Smith there. David Westergreen, Brent Jones, Zach Evans. They're going to be battling it out. Ray Bracey just behind them. Another driver that's fallen a little bit, playoff driver Austin and Abnett, back to the 16th spot. Frank Fody up into 17th, Jeff Ryan 18th, Chris Albrecht 19th, and Kyle Hanshaw in the top 20. Hanshaw's had a really quiet night tonight. Haven't really talked about him much at all. Hunter Smith on the rebound from his earlier incident up to 21st. Josh Clark in 22nd. Caleb Pecumer 23rd, Justin Vandermerle 24th, Connor Thompson in 25th. Oof, his front end looking a little squished at this point. A lot less sheet metal than he had earlier. Dusty Dewar 26, Mark Robilas, Shea Mitchell, Mitch Javier, and David Carpenter your top 30. Then it's Cale Pocock, Kurt Gibson, and Dave Huckleberry your field, as it looks like William White catching up to the tail of the field. I believe Huckleberry just up the road from him. And yes, indeed. So a little bit of lap traffic about to come into play.
And Huckleberry would still be the lucky dog after Liam passes him, because the next car laps down is Andrew Rucker, currently 8 laps down. And just a lap ago, we had Corey Abbott side by side with Gavin Higgins through 3 and 4. But if I'm Corey, I'm not looking too hard to pass here unless there's a big pace difference. Like I mentioned earlier, my goal in this race as a playoff driver would just be to get through safely, not take unnecessary risks. And between 3rd and 4th, it's a 1-point difference. So if you can get the pass done, sure. But if it's going to be tight and you risk turning him or getting turned yourself, I don't know that it's necessarily worth it.
No, I agree with that. Definitely not worth taking any mega risks, especially at this point in the race where you're running in a good spot, coming to 31 to go this time. Abbott does take a look to the inside of Gavin Higgins. By the way, shout out neighbor Pete hanging out over in the YouTube chat. Great supporter of Gavin Higgins and all of us here at the Elite Racing Network. Good to have Mr. Neighbor Pete over there in the YouTube chat. If you're tuned in tonight, folks, let us know who you're cheering for, where you're watching from, what brings you here to ERN, and be sure to hit the subscribe button while you're here as well.
And it sounds like Corey's getting a little impatient with Gavin. I think he feels like he's got a decent chunk more pace. It's just hard to complete a pass.
Definitely hard to complete a pass here as we ride on board with Corey Abbott in the Abbott Motorsports entry, hugging that yellow line. Looks like he's not necessarily able to rotate overly well through the corner, probably getting towards the worn out portion of this event where the tires are starting to go away. And one thing to point out, this battle between Higgins and Abbott is catching the lap car of David Huckleberry. So just having to check up a little bit could definitely change the complexion of this battle and the way that this battle does play out. throughout the closing 29 laps or so. But we'll keep our eyes on that. JP Phillips closing in on the battle as well. Jacob Adams still holding on to 6. David Phillips having a bit of a battle with Michael Hossack as Hossack tries to close up. They've cleared Andrew Hardcastle, who now is under fire from Dominic Wright, who has Josh Smith just behind him as well. So some good battles all throughout this one. As we look a little bit further back, looks like Justin Vandermarl is going to be side by side with Caleb Pecumer as they work their way down the front straight away. Vandermarl 23rd, Pecumer 24th. Two very similar color combinations between these two drivers, but Vandermarl in his white, red, blue, and black entry gonna pull away from Pecumer. We got some who's going on. Who are we looking at? Oh, maybe this?
No, we actually missed it on the broadcast, but turn 1 and 2, about a lap ago, Frank Fody and Ryan actually made contact, and Fody made the save of a lifetime.
We'll take a look, most likely around here. Yes, it is. Frank Fody gonna kick sideways, gathers it up, almost gets collected by Chris Albrecht, and is able to continue on. As looks like there's actually a battle brewing between Fody and Albrecht back here, as they're side by side. Fody on the bottom, Chris Albrecht up top, Hunter Smith just behind them, as we have another battle in the top 10, 3 wide. David Phillips in the middle, Michael Hossack on the bottom. Jacob Adams was running the top side. He's going to clear ahead of this battle, as it's now Hossack and Phillips battling for position number 7 and 8 here down the back straightaway.
Yeah, Jacob would have gotten passed by the other Phillips, JP Phillips, a little while ago. So he's kind of moving backwards. Looks like those two are going to find their way by as well eventually. JP's now just sitting on Corey's bumper, and if I'm Corey, the biggest thing I need to keep under control is my frustration, because if he feels like Gavin has been backing him up to JP, that can get someone driving angry, and that's not what the place you want to be.
Now we're quickly getting down to the closing stages of this one, and we're seeing guys like Jacob Adams, David Phillips, Michael Hossack, and Andrew Hardcastle all together here. 4-car battle essentially for position number 6 as they go by Dave Huckleberry. If these guys slow each other up anymore, they're going to welcome Dominic Wright and Josh Smith up into this fight, maybe even David Westergreen. So would you guys think maybe it's best just to go single file for a couple laps, let it play out, and then try to make a move a little bit later?
That depends on the order, if the cars are in order of pace. Because if someone thinks they're getting held up, like Corey with Gavin, then they're not gonna want to be that patient, especially coming down to the final 20 laps here.
Just taking a look here, it looks like the leaders were going through a little bit of lap traffic. Cale Pocock and Kurt Gibson in position to go a lap down. Jay Connor and William White have cleared by them. So that means the likes of Higgins, Abbott, Phillips, Adams, Phillips, Hossack, Hardcastle, and Wright are all about to navigate through these lap cars, and these battles are already tight. They're just about to get tighter at this point as we come 20 laps to go here in the Phoenix 100 in the RevLimit Workshop Development Series presented by PitPassNetwork.com.
As the tires age on these cars, it gets harder and harder to pass on the bottom. So what Corey's doing here, he's looking to the outside around 3 and 4. That's the way that you're going to be able to complete a pass if you don't have a significant tire advantage. You just can't get the kind of run off the exit of the corner when you're on the bottom to even stay equal with them, much less pull ahead.
As we rode on board there for a moment with Corey Abbott, we got to see some of the dashboard getting up to about the 150 mile per hour mark in that 21 machine, and you could just hear the tires continuing to screech for these guys. JP Phillips looking to take a dive potentially to the inside of Corey Abbott. Opts better of it, gonna get back in line here and hold on to position number 5. They've pulled away by about 3 seconds over Jacob Adams, Michael Hossack and company. So this is going to allow this battle to play out naturally amongst these guys as that battle continues. Hossack and Phillips side by side. Adams just up the road from them here. Another quick note, just a couple playoff guys working their way towards the top 10 to keep an eye on here. Austin and Abnett up to 13th. Ray Bracey up to position number 14. So these guys on the move.
It's worth noting that of the 3 fighting here with Gavin, Corey, and JP is not a playoff driver. So any positions he takes from Corey and Gavin are costing them playoff points for essentially nothing. And then kind of the same deal around Hossack. The other Phillips and Jacob Adams are not playoff drivers. So he's trying to get by Jacob Adams to get as many points as he can out of this first round.
Side by side back here, Dominic Wright, Josh Smith. Smith up top, Wright on the bottom. Dominic Wright, one of our playoff drivers here, trying to work his way into the top 10. Nearly worked his way up into the door of Josh Smith as he bobbles a little bit there off of turn number 4. They're still side by side into turns number 1 and 2. The Napa Auto Parts machine up on the high side. The Jimmy Hayden photography entry down on the bottom in that number 12 of Wright, as still battling going on up here as well. Corey Abbott, JP Phillips. But up front with just 14 to go, coming to 13 this time, it is the University of Chichester, number 43 of William White leading the way over Jay Connor and Gavin Higgins, 2 of the KOR entries up here, doing a really nice job. And that KOR Motorsports team has really come alive over the last couple of seasons. Relatively unknown until probably the beginning of 2024. And since then, these guys have really become contenders every time they're out here on the racetrack, especially in the RevLimit Workshop Development Series. So keep an eye on these guys for many, many seasons to come. Of course, Gavin just like 8 years old, so he's got a long way to go in his iRacing career.
Yeah, I think we settled that. I think it's 14.
Close enough, right? Close enough.
Sure Chad would remember.
Well, we got some Michael Hossack fans over in the YouTube chat. Sierra Drinkwater is cheering on the number 24 of Michael Hossack. There he is, battling with the 03 of David Phillips. They're chasing down the 53 of Jacob Adams. Hossack currently running in position number 8, looking for a little bit more in these closing laps, and he's trying to hold off Andrew Hardcastle with his pet frog on the rear of that machine. Josh Smith right there as well in the Gear Wrench Racing Napa Auto Parts number 8 entry here tonight.
Yeah, so this battle here with Hossack has actually been on my monitor for the past few laps. I think there was a little bit of frustration there from Hossack as well, trying to get around him, because every time he took a run at him, he just couldn't complete the pass. It ended up falling back again. So now he cleared him and see if he can start pulling away.
Couple guys I want to take a look at here in these closing laps that have done a nice job quietly all evening long. Jeff Ryan again, we mentioned him, and Chris Albrecht, both these guys up in 15 positions each on the night. And it hasn't been necessarily the easiest racetrack to make the passes at, so for these guys to be able to be up double digits is definitely nice to see. As oh no, David Westergreen into the outside wall. Of course, it can't be an elite race without some sort of misfortune going towards that 09 of David Westergreen. this guy, I don't know what he does, if he unloads his race car onto a stack of mirrors every race night or what, and breaks them, but he has no luck ever on these racetracks here in the Elite Racing League.
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of in the same boat as Jaden has been these past few weeks. Seems like every time we're halfway through the race and Jaden has had something go bad and he ends up out of the race. There's certain drivers that just have incredible runs of bad luck. That's been me in the past, Jaden, D West. It's just, it's rough.
Yeah, my Xfinity has kind of been that way as well. Or I should say the RevLimit series, because
That's right.
I think I finished, maybe 30 something in points, and I think I'm 34th in points now. So yeah, I definitely feel that. It's hard luck all around.
Caleb Becumer absolutely sent it. Almost turned Josh Clark's Bucky's machine into some chopped brisket just a moment ago as they worked their way through the corners. That's absolutely wild. But yeah, I hear you guys on bad luck. I had some bad luck last night as well. Unfortunately, a big bug hit my windshield mid-race, and that's what happens sometimes in the Robiles Photography Grand National Series. But back here in the RevLimit Workshop Development Series, neighbor Pete shouting at his other guy, Jay Connor, who currently holds on to second with 5 laps remaining in this one. White, Connor, Higgins, Abbott, Phillips. This might change here. This is your battle for third. This is probably the biggest battle on the racetrack right now, especially amongst playoff drivers, as Abbott still trying to get by Higgins, just has not been able to do it. Still holding on to position number 4 with 4 laps to go.
Yeah, JP has managed to get to the inside of Corey through 1 and 2 several times now, but like I was talking about earlier, Corey just gets that run out of the corner on the high side and JP can't do anything with it. I think the problem that Corey has been having now is that he's been working that top side for probably a good 20 plus laps now, trying to get something to happen on the outside of Gavin, and he's kind of lost any pace advantage that he might have had previously.
Yeah, no, definitely a good point on that. And just to note, they are just behind Dave Carpenter, who is currently shown in position number 28. He is 1 lap down to the race leader. So for Corey, I think what he really wants is some sort of a bobble out of either Higgins himself or Carpenter just ahead, which will give him an opportunity to get up there and get by that number 20 machine, as Corey is going to dive it in deep. But I just don't know if he has enough tire left to finish a pass on the Gavin Higgins machine. By the way, William White coming through turns number 3 and 4. Now going to see the white flag. Next time by, we will end the Phoenix 100. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go for William White, but we'll go back to the battle for third. Abbott kisses the outside wall. He'll have 1 final attempt, I believe, through turns number 1 and 2 to get up there and get that 3rd spot from Gavin Higgins. Higgins going to slide up. Abbott just behind him, but through 3 and 4 for the final time. It's going to be checkered flag number 5 on the season. The driver out of the UK, the University of Chichester, number 43. It's William White getting it done for Abbott Motorsports. Jay Connor 2nd. Gavin Higgins going to come home 3rd. Corey Abbott 4th. JP Phillips rounds out your top 5. Jacob Adams, Michael Hossack, David Phillips, Josh Smith, and Andrew Hardcastle, your top 10. We're going to step aside here for just a moment as William White going to celebrate his playoff opening victory here tonight. When we come back, we'll talk to White, Connor, and Higgins right here on the Elite Racing Network. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Rev up your business with Blue Egg, your marketing pit crew. Turbocharge your lead generation with experienced drivers that can navigate the competitive track to connecting with your customers. With Blue Egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. To win the Blue Egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Fueling big. To win big. Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Ooh, ooh, big. To win big, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Ooh, win big.
Since 2010, race fans have had one burning question. When will the Xfinity Series return to Worldwide Technology Raceway? You asked, NASCAR delivered. On Saturday, September 6, 2025, the magic is back. The track that launched the legendary careers of Harvick, Busch, Keselowski, Edwards, and Earnhardt Jr. is now ready to write that next chapter. We're going to introduce you to a new crop of future champions and Hall of Famers. And in the process, we'll create more of the greatest moments in racing history. NASCAR Weekend 2025, the NASCAR Cup Series Championship Playoffs, the Confluence Music Festival, and now 250 miles of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. 2 incredible races, 1 challenging track, a 3-day party of epic proportions. Go to www.raceway.com and lock in your weekend racing and camping packages for as little as $20 down.
And we are back here at Phoenix, going to get set to talk with our third place driver, Gavin Higgins, here in just a moment. Hey, Gavin, it's Robert up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Big third place finish tonight to kick off the 2025 A playoffs. Did you think you had anything to get up there and battle it out with Jay and William there towards the end?
No, I had nothing. Nothing. Even if we did get a late caution, I mean, I don't think I would have had anything for William. Maybe Jay, but William just whooped us again.
Yeah, it definitely seems like he's on a different level so far this season, and you guys are going to need to do something over these final 4 races to get up there and take that championship lead from him. But next week, we're headed north of the border to Canada, the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. What are your expectations for that race? Do you think maybe you can have something for these guys, get up there and battle it out for the win? Or are you looking more top 5, top 10, just stay consistent?
Probably more stay consistent because, I mean, with a road course in the playoff schedule, anything could happen, really, because you'll have some of the people that aren't so good on the regular tracks and they go to the road course tracks and they're really good. And then some people that are not good at road courses, they would be good on the oval track. So I don't really know, but it's definitely going to shake up the points.
It definitely will shake up the points here. Are you happy with your result tonight, that third place finish to kick off the playoffs? And do you think maybe one of those Bristol or Talladega races we could see you down there in victory lane?
I mean, I hope. I mean, I'm usually pretty good at Bristol, but I mean, there's no playoff cut lines here to eliminate anybody. I mean, the Arkies have to stay really consistent and just get as many points as you could.
Well, Gavin, before we let you go here tonight, any sponsors you want to thank, shout outs you want to give?
no sponsors. Shout out to you guys for doing this. You guys do an amazing job. Jay for racing with me. Neighbor Pete, my mom, dad, brother, sister, her boyfriend, and my grandparents watching.
Shout out to all them. Shout out to you, Gavin. Congratulations on the podium finish tonight. And we'll see you next week up in Canada.
Thanks.
It's Gavin Higgins, your third place finisher here tonight. Now standing by with our second place finisher, Jay Connor, is Jesse Rasimas.
Hey Jay, it's Jesse up in the booth. You got a copy?
Sure do. What's going on?
Not much. So tell me about your race there. I mean, in the beginning, it seemed like you were keeping even, but as the laps ticked down, you slowly faded back. What are you guys going to have to do to get by this 43 during the playoffs here?
I don't know. We were just talking about whatever he figured out for the long run in these cars. It really works. In the beginning there, when I was close to him, I felt like for 8-10 laps, I was a little quicker, and I was trying to size up what I was going to do with him, but probably used up a little more trying to get him there. I figured if I can get control of the race, that might be the difference, knowing that he's good on the long run on these things. So used up a little bit too much there in the first run, and then once we kind of settled in and fell in line on the second run there, I tried taking care of it for as long as I could, and then the last 15 laps or so, I tried everything I could, just drove the wheels off it, figuring that if I can make up any time on him, it'd make a difference. But he stayed pretty consistent, and then the last 20 laps or so, our intervals kind of like everybody fell even, and nobody was gaining or losing, and it just kind of was what it was at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, during the beginning, you could definitely see that you were at least maintaining pace. Maybe it'll tick quicker, and then just kind of fell off there. But so next race coming up is a road course. How do you feel about that one? You got anything for that one there?
Yeah, that one's going to be survival. I already made some laps on the track there, and it's a cool track with some wild like off cambers and stuff. But yeah, that's road courses aren't my forte. So as long as we could survive, maybe get a top 15, top 10 with this points deal, that'd be a success in my eyes.
Yeah, I think after the road course there, we have Bristol, Talladega, and Homestead. Talladega's a crapshoot, obviously, but you think you got anything for Bristol or Homestead towards the later end of this playoffs here?
I like both. I think we podiumed with Gavin, or we ran top 5 at Bristol last time. I think it was a mess of cautions, and we went like half the race under caution. But yeah, I like both of them. Homestead's fun, being able to rip the top for a little bit and stuff. So as long as we get through, Talladega's a crapshoot. You never know what's going to happen. But as long as we get through the road course with, the points deal in sight, we'll maybe have a shot here against William.
Yeah, for sure. Got any sponsor shout outs you want to give?
No sponsors, just the usual. Family and friends that watch, you guys for putting on a great broadcast. All the elite broadcasts are awesome, but a lot of times the ARCA ones, the production and stuff looks great. So shout out to you guys, and of course neighbor Pete watching next door. I'm sure he's pumped to have 2 of his buddies on the podium here. So that's pretty much it. We'll go to I think it's Mossport, right, in Canada, and see how we can screw that one up.
Yeah, it's definitely Mossport. Or I guess, Robert, tell us the correct way to pronounce that.
It was Mossport. Now it's Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, so definitely looking forward to seeing what you can do here in the playoffs. I know you're pretty strong at Bristol and Homestead both, so maybe we'll see you up here at the podium in the next couple of weeks and get to talk to you a couple more times before the end of the season.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
That was your second place finisher, Jay Connor with Jesse Rasimas. Now standing by with Alayton Norgard is our race winner from the University of Chichester. It's William White.
Hey, Billy Blanco, Leighton in the booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir. Hello.
We're here once again, top of the podium. It didn't really seem like you were contested that much this race at all. Were you ever side by side with someone for position outside of pacing?
No, not after turn one on any of the restarts. No. I managed to get a good enough jump on the start itself, and JP just went a little deep into one, so that made the initial start nice and easy. I could get clear and immediately start working on saving some tire. And then from that point on, I'm just trying to conserve the tire as best I can, knowing that it's so difficult to pass at Old Phoenix. You can be as fast as you like. If you get to the bottom of someone, you are going to be hard pressed to get the move to stick. So I wasn't too stressed about whether or not I was burning off my stuff. Because even if Gavin and Jay, they were quick. If they ever got to me, I could just, if they got to my side, I can hug the outside and just get the drive off, and they would not be able to overtake me. So that's something I was had in the back of my mind. Thankfully, it never came to that. There was no yellow. We had a good long run, and thankfully, I managed to pull away at the end.
I did see that Jay was able to stay on your bumper for the first 5 to 10 laps of a run, but after that, he kind of would fall back. But then he maintained 2 to 3 seconds behind you. Were you kind of managing that gap, or were you still running at the most pace you felt like you could without destroying the tires too much?
Yeah, no, I would say Jay was definitely quick. Like I say, on the initial start, he was right on my backside, definitely giving me some pressure. I was feeling the heat a bit, but managed to eventually get the better of him. I think just on tyre, where eventually I think his right front just gave out as he started to drop 10th or so a lap before that first yellow. Then for the final stint, it was a similar story. I managed to get him sort of in the first 20, 30 laps, 40 laps. I seemed to have the measure of him, but as we sort of came back sort of 50, 60 lap mark, he started to really claw back. I think at one point he gained the best part of a second back on me, and I was running fairly hard. I was not really pulling any punches. I was just making sure I wasn't putting it in the wall, but definitely still extracting the most speed out of it that I possibly could. So I would definitely give credit to Jay for so I see a little picture of me screaming into a microphone there, Bobbert. Yeah. I would say definitely Jay was very quick on the long runs. I just managed to extract enough of a gap early on in the stint to not have to worry too much about it.
All right. Next week, we got Mossport, Canadian Tire. I know you're good on road. Do you think you are still going to have an advantage there, or do you think someone is going to be a bit closer than they have been on these ovals?
I'm definitely not as confident as I usually would be going into a road course race. I've never driven at Canadian Tire in any car. I bought it earlier this year, haven't driven many laps yet. I did like one, and it was very, very fun. Super windy, super technical. I think it will definitely reward those who can extract the most out of it. I think we'll see a lot of pace differential, even at the sharp end of the field. So I think definitely you could see a couple of drivers potentially pulling away from the rest. Just with how technical it is, you have to really extract a lot out of each individual corner and each individual sector. So it'll be challenging. Definitely the hardest road course on the calendar, but hopefully I've been good enough in the road courses this season. I've led lots of laps in both of them, won the Roval, so hopefully we'll get another road course win on the season.
All right. Before we let you go, any shout outs you want to give, sponsors that you pay that you want to thank?
Yeah, my main sponsor that I pay, University of Chichester, they might scout me for nearly 10 grand a year, but it's always fun hanging out with that lot of their esports program, really fun. Good group of people to hang out with, everyone at Abba Motorsports, obviously you and Robert. In the commentary box, you've got Corey, Brent, Andrew, Mitch, who runs for BOR, Dom as well, kept us company. Everyone in the Twitch chat as well that stuck around, Ollie and Holly. Very bit of a tongue twister there, but those two were keeping me company in the Twitch chat as well. Obviously, you lot in the commentary box, Jesse on race control, and yeah, all the admins as well for putting on the show. I forgot Kale. Kale's new. I haven't done an interview since Kale joined. Give me a break. Kale, I love you. Yeah, shout out to Kale as well.
All right. Congrats on the win, and good luck next week.
Thank you.
That was your race winner, Billy Blanco, with Alayton Norgard. Guys, final thoughts from you before we head off for the evening. Let's start with you, Jesse Rasimas.
It was a really good race. A lot of guys just trying to work their way up. Really wasn't many incidents, but I mean, just the racing battles and like just within the top 10 and like further back towards the middle of the pack were pretty good and clean and kind of what we want to see here.
Yeah, pretty much after the first few laps, the top 4 was pretty much set for the rest of the race, which is kind of what I expected to see out of Legacy Phoenix. I know you've talked about how you prefer Legacy, but I think Modern Phoenix is better just because of the options that it gives for multiple lanes and passing opportunities. But the track kind of gave us what we thought, a lot of green flag running and some good racing, cars working their way up through the field from the back. So yeah, it was a good race.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was a good race, and that's what I expected with Legacy Phoenix being on the schedule. It always does produce some great racing, good side-by-side action all throughout the night, and congratulations to Gavin Higgins, Jay Connor, and William White on their podium finishes. Obviously, win number 5 on the year for White. That's pretty darn impressive, and setting himself up nicely to head up and contend for a championship in just a couple of weeks, but we'll keep an eye on that. We'll be back next Tuesday night at the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. But in the meantime, tune in tomorrow for Belly Up Cup Series action live from Zandvoort. And Thursday, we kick off the Warriors for Peace Open Wheel Series from Kentucky. Be sure to tune in for both of those shows and have yourself a great rest of your week, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in. On behalf of Alayton Norgard and Jesse Rasimas, my name's Robert Hill Jr. We'll see you next time.